Hell of a Summer is the directorial debut of both Finn Wolfhard and Billy Bryk, and it's a messy attempt at blending Superbad with Friday the 13th. And if you're like me, that concept sounds like a home run. Unfortunately, I don't know if this movie really connects on either the horror or comedy aspect strongly enough for me to have any faith in this being a big success, but I have to say, this movie is actually a pretty decent time in theaters. It didn't live up to my expectations, and I was fairly underwhelmed, especially by the slasher portion of this movie, but as a zoomer version of the summer camp hangout, I felt like this one got better as the film went on, and by the end of it, I was glad I spent the hour and a half watching it. So I want to go over some of my positives and negatives from Hell of a Summer, explaining why some people might leave feeling disappointed while others will no doubt love it. And I'll be keeping this video entirely spoiler free, so if you want to go see this movie, then I definitely recommend seeing it for yourself. I don't know if I would recommend paying full price to see it, but if you have one of the monthly theater passes, then it's worth going to see. And so my first positive for this movie is the concept and setting itself. Look, they aren't breaking any new ground by setting a slasher movie at a summer camp, and this movie definitely wears its influence on its sleeve. Whether it's the 80s synth music or the fact that our main character is literally named Jason, they obviously wanted to invoke Friday the 13th here, and they don't do a horrible job at matching the setting. There's even a scene that almost one for one recreates that blue curtain poster from part 3, so if you're into the summer camp aesthetic as much as I am, then you'll at the very least enjoy the vibe of this movie. With that said, I think it's very important for you to set your expectations because this is not really a slasher movie. It's way more comedy than horror, so if you're going for kills or the carnage candy that kind of comes with the territory of making a Friday the 13th homage film, then you're going to be extremely disappointed. Just about every kill in this movie is off screen. We do get a few graphic ones near the end of the runtime, and as I mentioned, I think Hell of a Summer actually gets significantly better as the movie goes on. But for the first hour of this, it doesn't feel like a slasher at all. It's basically just cutting around to different bits between the cast members hanging out. And so that's where this movie will be very divisive, I'd imagine. If you came to it for the slasher aspect, then you're not getting what you wanted. And especially if you're someone who isn't really feeling the zoomer jokes or the dialogue here, because make no mistake, you can tell that this movie was co-written by Finn Wolfhard, because this is very much a zoomer coming of age story, and honestly, I really love that part of the movie, but I could understand why it might not connect with other people. I thought it was refreshing to see a movie that was written and directed by two very young filmmakers. I think the strongest thing this movie has going for it is the dialogue because it feels so authentic to this generation, and for that reason, I'm excited to see what Wolfhard and Bryk have planned for the future, because there are moments and bits in this movie that were actually hilarious to me, but then there's also a decent amount of jokes, particularly in the first half of the movie, that just fell really flat. I think the hit rate for the jokes was down at like 30% in the first half of this movie where nothing was really landing, but then it jumps all the way up to like 80% as the plot really kicks into full gear. And so while that's partly why I didn't love this movie the way I was hoping to because the foundation was just really messy, it did at least have me feeling satisfied by the time it was over. But as with any comedy movie, if the jokes don't consistently land for you, then you're not going to have a very good time. So I understand why this is getting negative reviews. I think some of the running bits in this movie were the worst parts of the writing. Like, there's nothing worse than when a joke completely misses the mark the first time and then you're subjected to 3 or 4 more versions of it. And so at times it felt like this movie was kind of flailing around just looking for ways to fill the runtime. And rather than creating new bits or jokes, they just kind of resorted to running back the same ones that we already didn't laugh at. So that definitely wasn't great, but again, some of the jokes and interactions later in the movie absolutely did land for me. I actually think Billy Bryk and Finn Wolfhard were the most consistently funny parts of this movie, which was actually a pleasant surprise, especially for Finn because I had started to grow a little concerned with his acting in recent years. Like, he's not very good in the Ghostbusters movies, and he was slowly fading into the background of Stranger Things, but he was good enough in this movie to reassure me that he isn't going to totally flop as an actor in his adult life. At least I have more faith than I did a year ago for him. Again, I know I keep saying this, but I really felt like the writing and acting of everyone here felt so authentic to this generation that I'm willing to buy stock into Bryk and Wolfhard as filmmakers moving forward, because they clearly want to tell a coming-of-age story for this generation, and I think the foundation was there in Hell of a Summer. They just need to recalibrate and polish off their work next time. Back to the horror aspects of this movie, aside from not having any visible kills for most of this, I think the movie also totally fails to create any suspense or mystery. There is a reveal about 30 minutes left into the film that I thought was interesting, like this could have been a great new twist for the murder mystery genre, but by the time it happens, we're basically already wrapping up the final act, so it doesn't have enough time to go anywhere. And yeah, the lack of action or chase scenes was a huge disappointment. You have this summer camp setting, but we spend almost the entire movie just hanging around inside of the bunks. Like, credit to the characters for being smart enough to group together and stay inside for most of this, but it doesn't make for a very exciting slasher movie if everyone is just staying in one place. And any of the attempts they made at getting the characters to leave the bunks or go explore just felt half-hearted and lazy. So yeah, overall this movie, it felt like a half-completed assignment. Adding some more jokes and at least one or two chase scenes that end in big crazy kills would have elevated this movie quite a bit. I know I sound like a sicko, but if you deliver on some creative gore, then your movie is just going to be that much more enjoyable for the slasher fans. I think Hard Eyes was a great example of this, where it had the comedy mixed in with some genuinely good gore, but Hell of a Summer falls way short of reaching that. It still has its moments of comedy, and there are some kills. It's not the worst movie ever made. Some teenagers who were leaving my theater at the same time as me actually called it the shittiest movie they'd ever seen, and it's definitely not that bad. Like, it's got some things going for it, and so if you're interested in this movie, then I would say check it out. But unfortunately, I don't think this movie is gonna have any staying power. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the type of film that just kind of comes and goes without making too much noise, which is sad, because if anyone can ever give me this super bad mixed with Friday the 13th movie, then I'll be their most devoted fan. But as of now, that movie still doesn't exist. So if you saw Hell of a Summer, then please let me know in the comments what you thought about this one. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed my review and you want to help support the channel, then please drop a like and hit the subscribe button. Those two things go a long way to help me out, and I really appreciate it. And that's all I have for this one, so I'll see you next time.